December 14th, 2012. From the stylish high-tech underground studios of Ribbit Media in Warwick, Rhode Island, this is NewsUndies. For December 14th, 2012, this is NewsUndies, all the news that shouldn't be news. I'm Paul Torville with this look back at the headlines that made 2012 a perfect year for humanity's graceless and pratfalling exit from this stage. This is NewsUndies, all the news that shouldn't be news. I'm Paul Torville with these headlines. Oklahoma high school valedictorian Caitlin Newtbar has been denied her diploma over saying hell in her graduation address. Yep, Bible Belt. Secret Service takes on new meaning as members of the Presidential Protection Force get caught hiring Colombian prostitutes in advance of a presidential trip. With its last shreds of rationality, America barely rejects Mitt Romney as president. Mortgage rates at an all-time low, says CNN, out of context as an obvious shill for big banks. Miley Cyrus has an abdomen, but it's not visible from the side. States' rights, woof. Well, this is embarrassing. North Carolina passes constitutional amendment defining not only same-sex marriage, but also civil unions out of existence. In doing so, it concretizes second-class status for same-sex couples. CNN reports polar bears play in snow with real video. Talk about news that shouldn't be news. Iran's Fars news agency makes non-news into news. The agency lifted a story from The Onion and republished the story as true news. The headline? Gallup poll, rural whites prefer Ahmadinejad to Obama. End quote. CNN asks, did Sarah Palin poison the well for future female GOP candidates? If she didn't, that's an amazing well. Todd Aiken can really multitask. With one statement, he demonstrated a complete ignorance of biology, alienated everyone with a vagina, with the possible exception of Ann Coulter for obvious reasons, and derailed the entire GOP. Well done, sir. Scab refs. Because that matters. President Obama wins re-election. Mitt Romney cannot resist the taste of his own feet. Something private and meaningless about William and Kate's sex life. Police searching for Jimmy Hoffa in Detroit. Just in time, he was 62 when he disappeared in 1975. As Mother's Day approaches, adult offspring neurotically wonder what to get the mother who has everything to complain about, while the greeting card cabals and floristas greedily wring their hands. Chinese legal experts on high-profile murder trial, sorry you blinked, we're not going through this again. In breast news, graduation gift? Breast implants! What? Lisa Whelchel, Blair on Facts of Life, to be a contestant on upcoming iteration of Survivor. Because that's the boost Survivor needs. While they're at it, they should have Dan Quayle on, too. Nothing draws an audience like Dan Quayle. Fox News website lists headline, Why Americans Aren't Having Babies and How It Hurts Us, in its careers section. Telling. Justice Scalia offended by criticism of justices. Good for him. Now he knows something about how we feel about his legal opinions. Now if we could only ruin his life with our opinions the way he does ours with his. Having recently seen Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton together, I have to ask, was Bill Clinton involved at all in the production of Chelsea Clinton? CNN reports, tropical storm threatens Republican National Convention. Why yes, let's have our convention in Florida in the middle of hurricane season. What could go wrong? Rapper Snoop Dogg performed with a hologram-like projection of a CGI model of dead rapper Tupac Shakur. Snoop was clearly outdone. CNN was quick to point out its role in making this gratuitous and ethically ambiguous technological display possible, replaying footage of Wolf Blitzer failing to make eye contact with holographic reporters during coverage of Election Night 2008. Bic giving away 30,000 pens. What people will do with them, I don't know. A new search is underway for missing and presumed dead pioneering female aviator Amelia Earhart. No one has yet heard from her since July 2nd, 1937. I'm guessing this time will yield fantastic new insights. Also, I think Twilight is deep and the Chupacabra is real. Wrongity wrong wrong. The public school district of Grand Island, Nebraska has ruled that a deaf boy's name in sign language looks too much like a gun. But the common nickname for Richard is perfectly fine. A study shows that alcohol, not marijuana, is the real gateway drug. Suspicions abound that this study was funded by the same genius who funded the Analytical Thought Reduces Religious Belief study. Fox News speculates your next job could be asteroid miner. For a glimpse into the joys of that lifestyle, see the 2009 Duncan Jones indie sci-fi flick Moon. And, if you really have a strong stomach, the 1981 Peter Hyams gem Outland. 15-year-old 8th grader shot and killed by police after brandishing a pellet gun. 15-year-old? 8th grader? I turned 15 in 10th grade. In other petty news, Massachusetts legislature wants to ban bake sales. That's just stupid. Pilot dies in airshow crash. It must be a day ending in Y. Katie Holmes, in a fleeting moment of clarity, realized Scientology is scary nonsense and Tom Cruise is a loon. Someone threw flour on Kim Kardashian as she was having her ego inflated. I'm sorry, that's all the information I have at this time. Also from the I didn't see that coming department, Daniel Fernandez, 16, of Sayreville, New York, had his head knocked off. Literally. After sticking his head through an emergency hatch in the roof of a double-decker bus on the way to a Sweet 16 party. Witnesses reported Fernandez's mood, and really the whole mood of the party, never recovered. Colorado's Waldo Canyon wildfire, killer storms, heat wave, flooding, and drought failed to provide any sort of evidentiary support for global warming. Thank goodness. CNN reports traces of arsenic found in baby formula. CNN fails to report traces of arsenic in almost everything. How much arsenic is in your healthy brown rice? The FDA considers setting limits for arsenic in food. Safeway supermarkets have announced that they have stopped selling beef with the notorious pink slime filler. I don't recall them mentioning starting selling beef with the notorious pink slime filler. Oops, did you need that? JP Morgan loses $2 billion. Unprecedented. Gasoline approaches 2008 prices. Again. CNN reports airlines reducing legroom to increase profits. In other news, the sun is expected to come up tomorrow, which it has never done before. Golden Corral finds a way to make its patrons even fatter and sicker by introducing all-you-can-eat cotton candy right next to its all-you-can-eat chocolate fountain. The Providence Journal decides this isn't just news, it's front page, above the fold, giant full-color picture news. The situation is in rehab. Good for him. I still don't care. Yemen, Egypt, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya peacefully burned to the ground as peacefully offended Muslims peacefully disagree with the premise of a crummy little amateur film trailer. Peacefully. Prescription drug dangers. Really? Like what? The listed side effects? Dick Cheney finally got a heart transplant. Thank goodness. I don't know what I would have done if he had just died a normal natural death for someone of his age and health. Thank goodness for modern medicine. We'll have Dick Cheney to kick around a little more. Syria. Wow! Now there's a vacation spot. Maybe the army can set up its condos and jet ski docks over there. The U.S. news media, which has ignored Barry and Robin Gibb since their brother Maurice died in 2003, can't seem to shut up about Robin being in a coma. What the hell is that about? A group in Thailand reports Apple co-founder Steve Jobs has been reincarnated as a great warrior/philosopher. Things are different in Thailand, apparently.
Egypt's Mubarak, dying of cancer, may be put to death if found guilty.
CNN reports ex-porn star allowed to teach kids. Eek! This has to stop. I hope they're allowing ex-soldiers to teach kids because killing is much better than screwing. The federal government's General Services Administration spent $800,000 on a big party, and everyone has completely lost their minds. The Department of Defense has spent trillions on a decade-old party in the Middle East, and there's hardly any mention of that. Hey, on the bright side, no one came back from the GSA party missing limbs or in a body bag. And now, here's Ryan Hanley with another Jeff Goldblum fact.
You know Jeff Goldblum. In 1983, Jeff Goldblum won the Star of Tomorrow Award from the National Association of Theater Owners. Well, wake up, people! It's tomorrow! Start kissing Jeff Goldblum's ass! Or else. Back to you.
Thanks, Ryan. Fascinating. And finally, and I do mean finally, we all saw this coming, didn't we? 2012 saw a lot of people leave this world. Let's face it, they died. Here's a look back at some of 2012's notable bucket kicks. Deep sea monkey Davy Jones dead of a heart attack at 66. CNN has the decency to note his passing before returning to their coverage of Whitney Houston's untimely death. The world's oldest teenager has finally made the transition to adulthood, pausing for a tiny fraction of a second. Actually, interestingly enough, a Planck time, before flying through adulthood and old age and suddenly dying of a heart attack Wednesday afternoon. He was 82. Right-wing wiener sinker Breitbart dead at 43. Maurice Sendak, Donald Duck Dunn, and Vidal Sassoon are now dead. The hairstyles of child bass players will never be the same. Chad Everett and Sherman Hemsley dead. The douche who played Nice Guys and the nice guy who played a douche. The universe's precarious balance is preserved. God finally gets his revenge on Ernest Borgnine for telling the Fox and Friends crew his secret to longevity was masturbating a lot. Ernest Borgnine, dead at 95. That is a lot of masturbating. Stephen Covey's effectiveness takes sharp downturn following his death. First American woman in space, astronaut Sally Ride, dead at 61, and posthumously came out as gay. Recently dead, Phyllis Diller and Tony Scott. I'll bet that pair makes for some interesting waiting room conversation. You know, assuming there's a heaven. Neil Armstrong is dead. Cycling will never be the same. Andy Williams, dead. Well, that's all for this edition of NewsUndies. If you see news that shouldn't be news, you can submit your story tips online at NewsUndies.com. NewsUndies is a bi-weekly show. We'll be back on December 28th with our final look back at 2012. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Paul Torville. After that, I might be teaching myself to read Mayan. "2010, you remember that?" I don't.